Hi, I am Sanjay Patel. In the next 2-3 lectures, we are going to see some properties of continuous functions. So let us start with the first one. And the first result is this. If f from x to r is continuous at the point is continuous function at some point a in the domain a belongs to x, and f of a is not equal to 0, means the value of the function at the point a is not 0, then prove that the function f it keeps the same sign. It keeps the same sign in some neighborhood of the point A. That means you can write in a different form. That is, we can find some delta neighborhood of the point A. There exists some delta greater than 0 such that the function has the same sign, either positive or negative, for every element in that neighborhood. That means fx is positive for every x. Okay, for every x belongs to the neighborhood of A, or fx is negative for all x belongs to n of a comma delta. So this is the mathematical meaning that f keeps the same sign. It keeps the same sign in some neighborhood. It is also very obvious if you look at the, say, diagram of a continuous function. Suppose we consider some continuous function defined like this. Suppose it is like this. And if you take a point A somewhere here for which the value of the function is not 0. So if I take a point A here, and let me extend the function this way, then we can always find some small neighborhood of the point A, say a minus delta and a plus delta, small neighborhood around the point A minus delta and a plus delta, so that whatever point you choose in this neighborhood, say if you take any x here, then the corresponding value of the function is this thing, that is f of x for any x in this neighborhood, and it is positive as you can see in the graph. Okay, and this is true because the function value is not 0. Same way, if you have point A here and you can see the function f of a value is negative, so in a small neighborhood of the point A, if you take any x, then function remains negative. So this is the graph of the function y equal to f of x, and we can understand this theorem diagrammatically like this. Let us prove mathematically. Okay. So first of all, let me start this way. Here f is continuous at the point A. Here f is continuous at the point A, and that is limit of fx as x tends to a exists, and it is same as the value of the function f of a. Okay, we are given that the function value at a is not 0. We have f of a is not equal to 0. So there are two possibilities. Either f of a is positive or it is negative. This or f of a is negative. Okay, so let us assume without loss of generality. So let us assume that f of a is positive real number. Okay, if f of a is positive, I can say it's a real number. So f of a by 2 is also positive. Let me take this number. This is also positive. What I will do next is I will use this fact, that is limit of the function fx at x equal to a is f of a, and use the definition of the limit of the function. So for epsilon is equal to, I can say because of star, for epsilon is equal to the number f of a by 2 greater than 0, there exists some delta such that whenever 0 less than mod of x minus a is less than delta, implies f of x minus L, the L is the limit which is f of a in this case, is less than epsilon. Okay, what is epsilon here? It is, we have taken as f of a by 2. Expanding this modulus, I will get f of a minus f of a by 2 less than f of x less than f of a plus f of a by 2. So that gives me 1 by 2 times f of a less than fx less than 3 by 2 times f of a. Remember, this thing is true for every x satisfying this condition. So I can rewrite this, and I want only one part here. Remember, a less than b less than c, this is true. I want only this much. This is true for every x satisfying this condition, which I can rewrite as, the meaning of this thing is, for every x belongs to n star of a comma delta, I have f of x greater than 1 by 2 times f of a. Okay, that means a 1 by 2 times f of a. This value f of x for any x is always greater than this number, but this number is positive. We have assumed that f of a is positive in the beginning of this proof. Look here, this is f of a is positive. So therefore this value is positive. So I can write that this implies f of x is positive because of this. So for every x belongs to n star of a delta, f of x is positive is proved. But even if I include the point a, star means related neighborhood of the point a. So even if I include the point a, then at x equal to a, we'll get f of a, and that is also positive. So no harm in writing this as, I can write it as, for every x belongs to n of a comma delta. So remember, I replace this star by this, and I am taking simple neighborhood. Still this remains valid because we know that f of a is positive. So we have found some neighborhood of the point a in which the function remains positive. So f keeps the same sign. So f keeps the same sign. Similarly, if you assume that f of a is negative, then you can show that f remains negative for every x belong to some delta neighborhood of the point A. Okay. Next, we are going to prove another important property of continuous functions defined over a closed interval. So in the next result, I'll be showing one very interesting result that continuous function defined on a closed interval is always bounded, and that is also very obvious. So let me write as a statement first. So that is our second result. If f from closed interval AB to R is continuous on closed interval AB, then f is bounded. F is a bounded function. F is bounded on closed interval AB. Simply let us write f is a bounded function. Is a bounded function. Okay. So the proof is very interesting, but before I prove this, let's understand this theorem in a different way, in a graphical way. We have this XY plane, x-axis, y-axis, and if you take a function defined in a closed interval, say closed interval A somewhere here, B somewhere here, and you take a function, continuous function on this closed interval, you can draw any continuous curve between these two limits A and B. So I can draw here something like this, I can draw something like this. So if I draw a continuous function in this closed interval, so in this way, then you can see that this function is bounded between some two limits. Say the minimum value is here and the maximum value of the function is here. So all the values of the function lies between these two. Say if this is P and this is Q, then for all values of this fx, I can say that P is less than or equal to fx, less than or equal to Q for every x in closed interval AB. You know what is the meaning of bounded function? A function is bounded if all values lies between some two constants, or I can also equivalently say that mod of f of x is less than or equal to some k, where k is some positive real number, and this must be true for every x in the domain, where k is some positive constant. This we have defined earlier. So you want to establish either this condition or this condition for a continuous function defined on a closed interval. So let us prove this. We'll prove this by contradiction. Suppose if possible, f is not bounded on closed interval AB. Remember, we are given that f is a function from closed interval AB to R and it is continuous, and we want to show that a function is bounded, but we are assuming to a contrary and saying that f is not bounded. If function is not bounded, that means its range is also an unbounded set. This implies range of f. Range of f. What is the range of f? You know that you can write range as an image set of the domain. So range of f is this, f of closed interval AB. Closed interval AB is the domain of the function and its image set under f. This set is bounded set, or is not bounded rather, is not a bounded set. is not a bounded set. A function is bounded if and only if its range is bounded. That is also we have discussed in our first lecture. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of the range of this function is not bounded? Let me first of all explain the meaning of range of f. That is the meaning of this symbol f of close interval a comma b. This is given by, actually it is set of all values of the function f of x for different x belongs to close interval ab. Okay, so this set is not a bounded set according to our assumption. It is not bounded set means we cannot write mod of fx less than or equal to k for every x belongs to closed interval ab. So I can say that that does not exist. Therefore, there does not exist any k, any positive number k greater than 0 such that mod of fx is less than or equal to k for every x belongs to closed interval ab. This is the meaning of the fact that function is not bounded on closed interval ab. Okay. Now, for any k greater than 0, this condition is not true for all x. Means you can always find some x for a positive number k. If I take for example, say, if I take k is equal to say 1 by 2 greater than 0, then there exists some point x, say x0, belong to the domain which is closed interval ab, such that mod of f of x0 is not less than or equal to k. That means it is greater than k. K means 1 by 2. So this is always possible for any given positive real number. So if you take k equal to 1, k equal to 1 by 2, 1 by 3, anything, in general, what I want to write here in a special way. So if we take k, any positive real number, say k equal to 1 upon n greater than 0, where n is any natural number. So for different values of n, you will get different positive real number k. Say for n equal to 1, you will get k equal to 1. For n equal to 2, you will get k equal to 1 by 2. And for each real number k, since this condition is not true, we can always get some point for which the mod of f of x is greater than that value of k. So if we take k is equal to 1 by n greater than 0, we can always find some point. Say that point I will be denoting, I will denote it by this symbol, some xn belongs to the domain closed interval ab such that mod of f of xn is strictly greater than strictly greater than k, that is 1 upon n. Let me write it this way, and let us call this as result number 1. So you can understand for k equal to 1, there exists some x1 belongs to closed interval ab such that mod of f of x1 greater than 1. For k equal to 1 by 2, you can find another point which we may call x2 belongs to closed interval ab such that mod of f of x2 is greater than 1 by 2. Like that, you can repeat this for every natural number, and as a result, you will see that you will get different points x1, x2, x3 in this closed interval ab. So I can rewrite this and say, thus, we get a sequence xn of points in the closed interval ab such that mod of f of xn is greater than k, that is 1 upon n for every n belongs to n. Okay, let me call this as the main result. This is because of result 1, and let me call it result number 2. Okay. So we have obtained a sequence xn of points in closed interval AB. Whenever sequence all terms lies in closed interval means it is obviously a bounded sequence. So this implies xn is a bounded sequence. Xn is a bounded sequence because all points of the sequence or all terms of the sequence are lying between A and B for every n. So it is bounded sequence. And whenever we have sequence of real numbers which is bounded, we can apply the very important result of analysis known as Bolzano-Weierstrass's theorem. So I can say that, therefore, by Bolzano-Weierstrass's theorem, xn, the sequence xn must have a convergent subsequence. Okay, and let us call that subsequence as say xnk. The sequence xn has at least one subsequence xnk which is convergent. So I can say that is there exists some real number x such that xnk converges to x. There is some real number x such that xnk converges to x. Okay, but as a is less than or equal to xnk less than or equal to b for every k. Why? Because all terms of the sequence lies between a and b. So I can say that all terms of the subsequence are also between a and b, and therefore I can say that the limit of the subsequence is also between a and b. So a is less than or equal to x and x is less than or equal to b. By result, if a sequence all terms of the sequence lies between some two constants, then the limit of that sequence, if it exists, also lies between the same two constants. So this means the limit of the subsequence xnk, which is x, belongs to closed interval AB. But the function which is given to us is continuous. Okay, but f is continuous on closed interval AB. And this x is also in the closed interval AB. So therefore, I can say f is continuous. F is continuous at the point x, which is also in closed interval AB. Okay, and by the relation between the continuity and limit of a sequence, which you have seen earlier, I can immediately use that result and say, okay, therefore, as x and k converges to x, we can say that f of x and k also converges to f of x by a theorem from a continuous function, which we have proved earlier, that whenever x and k converges to x, fx and k also converges to f of x. Okay. If this is the case, I can say that f of x and k, this subsequence f of x and k, because it is convergent, this f of x and k is convergent, is bounded. But this contradicts our result. This contradicts the result number 2. What is the result number 2? Result number 2 says this: f of xn is greater than 1 upon n. So f of xn k, if you put n equal to nk here, f of xn k is greater than 1 upon nk. So we cannot put all the terms of the sequence f of xn k less than some constant. So contradiction to 2, and therefore our supposition must be wrong. So therefore our supposition must be wrong. Our supposition must be wrong. What was our supposition? We assume that the function is not bounded. So hence, what is proved? F must be bounded. F must be bounded on the closed interval AB. On closed interval AB, which is the domain of the function. So thus, every continuous function defined on a closed interval is always bounded. That is proved. Okay, thank you.